to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Thank you for being with us as we talk about natural resources. I'm Dr. Sam Hancock in Washington, D.C., EmeraldPlanet, its Executive Director and President. And as you know, we have many experts from around the globe that are talking with us about how we can protect the climate, how we can bring the resources and protect and not only conserve, but also develop the resources that are needed to enhance the quality of life for this globe's ever-expanding population, now heading towards 7 billion people. And each day, almost 1/3 of those people do not have adequate resources of any kind. And one of the things that we have been talking about, and we have an expert with us tonight that's working around the globe in the B countries, Benin, Brazil, Bhutan, and many others, is Robert A. Freling, and he's the Executive Director of the Solar Electric Light Fund, or SELF, as it's called. And Bob, thank you for being with us.
Good evening, Dr. Hancock.
And what we're talking about is, we've been talking on these shows about how we need to conserve the natural resources that we have, which is the air, water, and land, and also the forest, and everything that goes to enhance those. But the whole point of this is how can we take renewable resources, renewable energy, which there is free, it's available, and make it work for us. And Bob Freling has been doing this in a number of different countries, again, the B countries. We're going to see some slides of those. But Bob, tell us about SELF. What was the origin? And then we'll start talking about some of the positive impacts of SELF is bringing about around the globe.
Sure. Well, SELF was founded 20 years ago in 1990 by Neville Williams. I joined in 1994.
Oh, so you've been around a long time now.
Quite a while. And we're celebrating our 20th year this year. And the initial impetus for creating SELF was to address the needs of the 2 billion people in the world that still don't have access to electricity, almost 1/3 of humanity. It's a huge problem. I mean, it affects everything that you can imagine in their daily lives. When the sun goes down, these people retreat into homes that are lit dimly, if at all, by kerosene and candles. There's no way to pump water.
And also many of them are using charcoal, which means we're removing the grasslands, the forest. And so this has all kinds of negative impacts on their health as well.
Absolutely. And people who live with kerosene are said to smoke the equivalent of 2 packs of cigarettes a day. So respiratory illnesses are very common in the developing world, where people don't have access to electricity.
I know in many of the developing countries I've been in, which is numbers about 60 now, is that pneumonia is one of the greatest killers you have in that. People get into 50 plus and all of a sudden they're dying of pneumonia because of the advance and the impact on their lungs from breathing open flames within their homes.
Absolutely, and of course waterborne illnesses are also a major problem in the developing world, and lack of energy to pump and purify water is a serious issue.
Now, many people that we work with in different organizations, they talk about water, then they talk about wastewater treatment, and they're doing all these things. But what you're trying to do, as I understand your philosophy, is this juxtaposition of power, energy, into all these other things that relate to healthcare, education, farming, and all the other aspects that goes on in humankind around the globe.
That's right. When SELF was founded, our focus initially was on household lighting, just bringing solar lights into people's homes and giving their children an opportunity to read and study at night, to no longer have to breathe in kerosene fumes, etc. But as the mission evolved, we decided to expand the mandate to look at other ways in which we could harness solar power to address needs in the areas of health, education, and economic opportunity. So we're now providing solar applications for water pumping, for electrification of schools and clinics, for powering irrigation systems and wireless communication systems. So what has evolved is this comprehensive notion of village empowerment, where solar energy is used as an enabling technology to kickstart all of these improvements across the board.
And if you look at it, this, Bob, too, this is in essence pure democracy in action, because what you're doing is you're breaking the monopolies that many countries have, even in the United States, and you're taking and bringing the power down to the lowest common denominator, which is not just the village and the community, but also to the household itself.
Power and information, because one of the advantages of using solar electricity is that it's easily combined with wireless communications. And so we've actually been at the forefront of combining these two technologies, solar and wireless, to bring voice and data connectivity to these remote villages. And when you bring access to the world through the internet and through wireless communications to a family or a community, you've empowered them in countless ways.
Well, Bob Freling, one of the things about this too, starting in 1990, this is actually the internet really came online as far as the general public is concerned in 1994, even though it's been around for 40 years. So you really had 4 years kind of, if you will, ramp up to get ready for the internet, and probably most of the people involved didn't even realize the internet was going to be there and be as big and as important as it is in the 21st century.
Let me share a little story with you. In 1999, 2000, we were working in South Africa, and I met a principal of a high school there in KwaZulu-Natal, and was describing the internet, and he told them how wonderful it is. It sounded great to him, but then he said, "I'm sorry, we can never bring the internet to my high school because we don't have electricity to even run computers." So we then proceeded on a program to provide the high school with both power for computers and a satellite dish, which delivered internet access to the school.
Well, we're going to switch to some slides here and talk about some of these things. And so if we can bring this first slide up, tell us a little bit about this. What is the impact of what we're looking at here, Bob? And not just the standpoint of where it is and, you know, this is a nice thing, but as we look at this terrain, we don't see any power lines.
No, you sure don't. This is in the Himalayan kingdom of Bhutan, a beautiful country the size of Switzerland, nestled in between India and China, a country of astounding beauty and pristine ecological sensitivity. We were asked by a local conservation group to go into a particular valley, Pobjika Valley, to provide solar lights to these homes to reduce pressure on the families to cut down the trees and burn the wood chips to light their homes. So the idea of introducing clean solar lighting to these homes was helping to preserve the habitat of this valley, and which also happens to be where a group of black-necked cranes winter every year. So we were helping to preserve the black-necked cranes by bringing solar power to this valley.
And also we look in the back there, one of the things that most people don't know, that the king, the immediate past king of Nepal, on June the 6th each year, he wants every man, woman, and child in Bhutan to plant 100 trees. And so they went from just basically denuding the entire mountains, which means there's no conservation of water and soil, to where there's a very active forestry movement there. And we can see those trees in the background, which is the fruit of this last king's efforts for that. Let's move to this next scene here. And again, all of this relates to both humankind and this juxtaposition between humans and their surrounding areas. Tell us a little about this, Bob Freling.
This photograph is taken in Benin, a small country in West Africa between Nigeria and Togo. And we were asked to address the needs of the people of Kalale, a district of 44 villages, 100,000 people. So we came up with a plan to provide a comprehensive solution for homes, schools, clinics, etc. But what turned out to be their biggest concern of all was food insecurity. From November through April every year, there's no rainfall, no food production. So our solution was to combine solar water pumping with drip irrigation to help these women grow food during the dry season. And what you see here is a result of our program. I went there in June and was just so excited to see these women growing all kinds of fruits and vegetables and earning income too by selling the excess produce to the market. So now in this one project, we have a model that is combining access to clean energy, water, food, income, nutrition, women's empowerment, and climate change adaptation.
And we'll add to that also, now you have the funds where they can pay for education, because in many of these countries, being the European model, if you don't have a school uniform, a backpack, your school's supplies, a school uniform, you don't go to school.
Stanford University tomorrow will be releasing a study in the National Academy of Sciences to corroborate what we've done here in Benin, and we're very excited to be able to quantify the impact of these solar drip irrigation systems. And yes, they are earning appreciable income. About 25% of the produce is consumed by the families. The rest is sold to market.
That is absolutely fantastic. So you're bringing a cash economy in areas that were mostly barter and trade type of economies. What are we looking at here? This looks very sophisticated, but we can tell by the surroundings that we're probably in some places a little inhospitable, to say the least.
Well, this is a combination solar array and satellite dish, which is in the Xixual-Xiparina Reserve, which is deep in the Amazon rainforest of Brazil, about 40 hours by boat from the city of Manaus.
And I'm going to advance to the next photograph because we saw that vast array, and this is how much of that arrived there, correct?
Absolutely. It's, you have to go about 40 hours by boat, as I mentioned, and it's incredibly difficult to reach, and that's why it was important. We were asked by a local conservation group to assist with the provision of power for their school, their clinic, and also to provide communications. Now with this satellite dish, this community can access the same information that you and I can.
So, and when I was in the Congo and a number of other developing countries, it's just amazing to me that actually my cell service there was much better than as I'm traveling around in Northern Virginia and Southern Maryland. So it's just amazing how you've been able to leap, if you will, the technologies. In the remaining minute that we have, Bob Freling, what would you like to share with our viewing public, which is across the United States and also overseas, about what's this interplay between the technologies, particularly the solar power, and preserving natural resources?
Well, you know, we're just out of Copenhagen, COP15, and even though that was disappointing to a lot of people, it's really a huge opportunity we have now to advance clean renewable energy, to bring about improvements in not only health and education and poverty alleviation for the poorest of the poor, but to bring a more sustainable planet for all of us. And what's so incredible about solar power and other renewable energy technologies, they can impact all these different things at the same time. So it's really a win-win. We promote renewable energy, and we also tackle poverty and health and education for the 2 billion people that are struggling to catch up.
And the good example you had here with this scene from Benin is the whole thing of you're actually bringing other advanced technologies like the drip irrigation that's being used in many of the developed countries and now coming into these LDCs, least developed countries. Where we're going to be looking at some other ideas and some other thoughts as far as what is going on as far as generating natural resources to bring the world closer together as we share these best practices, because that's one of the efforts of the Emerald Planet, is to actually create the Emerald Planet. So thank you for being with us. We look forward to being back with you again. See you soon.